Hey, John here. So we're inside this 2017 GMC Acadia. It's got 80,000 miles on the odometer, and this is what the symptom is. So going down the road, when you put on the gas or let off the gas, you get this noise. And I can duplicate the noise by shifting. So I think I know what it is, but I'll just show you anyways. Okay, so when you go from reverse to drive, don't know if you're going to be able to hear that, but that clicking or knocking or whatever you want to call it. So when you're on the gas going down the road, it does the same thing. You let off the gas, it makes that click or that, subtle noise. And I believe I know what it is, but let's go outside and see if I can set the camera up, see if we can see something. So my guess is it's the CV axle, but I'm not 100% sure because I can't, shift it into neutral and drive and reverse without being outside the car. So it sounds like it's coming from this side. I'm going to take the wheel off, and I guess I'll play it back. I'll see if I can get any indication that it is the CV axle, because I did take it around the yard and really hard turns. It's not making any noise. It's not doing anything out of the ordinary. It's just going down the road, letting off the gas. You hear that click. Putting on the gas, you hear the click, same as putting in the gear, reverse and drive. So let's take the wheel up and see what we see. Well, I got her jacked up just a little bit, and I can get it to make a noise. I don't know if it's the same. That might be normal though. I don't know, but it's not. It's not wiggling anywhere else. I don't know. It's a tricky one because. It's definitely coming from this side, but that just sounds like the transmission, right? Is that the noise I'm hearing though in the cab? I don't think so, and I never did this before, so my concern is if it is something tranny and it's just transferring this noise or feeling down the shaft, and I don't want it to be the tranny, I guess that's what I'm saying. So I'm not sold that it's the axle yet, but at this point I gotta at least take it apart and investigate it with the axle in my hand. So because this vehicle has 50,000 miles on those brake pads, I'm going to replace them anyways, but this is probably a fairly easy job. It's just the two bolts here, it's looking like, in the axle bolt. Right, so I'm going to take this caliper off and just hang it somewhere, because like I said, I'm going to put pads on it, but I'm thinking you could probably leave this whole apparatus together. Just take these two bolts off your axle nut, and if the brake hose is flexible enough, well, that's pretty stiff actually, maybe taking this where there's a good clip to unhook the brake, maybe this bolt here, I don't know, if you don't want to take your caliper off, but I'm going to take it off. So I guess I'm just being a worrywart that it's transmission related, because it's got 80,000 miles on it, but probably just being a worrywart. I don't think it's got anything to do with transmission. If it was my car, maybe, because I'm pretty abusive on stuff. My wife drives this car, so she drives it like a snail. I'm pretty sure it's got to be this axle. I mean, how long do axles last? Who knows? Some cars probably go their entire life without changing a CV axle, but we gotta get to the bottom of it one way or the other. Yeah, she's down to about 20% left. That's alright. She is pretty hard on the brakes. And of course I don't have the right socket. Oh man. I've got standard sockets. Inch and 7/16. A little too big. Inch and 3/8. A little too small, so it's probably 1.5 inches, which I don't have, and I don't have any millimeters that are, I got 39, and, why is every axle nut different? I don't know why. So, I don't know, let's just try this one. Let's see if that'll buzz off. Can't torque it with this, but let's see if we can get it off with this. Let's see if we can strip it and then have a bigger project. trying to count the threads there. Don't get too crazy and round this thing up. Oh yeah, it's coming. I guess I'll have to, when I get brake pads, get the proper, well, if I got to get a new CV, well, that looks like it's covered in oil. I got to get a new CV, if I got to get a new CV axle, then this is going to come with this, so I'm not worried about that. Let's try to bang this axle in right now. And if it doesn't, I'll have to get the socket. Either way, I got to get a socket. I mean, that's ridiculous. Let me get a hammer. That's ridiculous. Yep, that was easy. Put it in there. Alright, so that's loose. What do you think these are? Probably not a 22. No, hell no. That's a lug nut. Alright, I'm going to go get some, what looks like about an 18, 19, maybe a 20. I don't know. Let's see. So it's an 18. And there is a speed sensor line on the back side there that you don't want to take off for sure. Okay. So I got a jack under there to get some tension off of this. See if these will come out this way. It's fighting. She's fighting. There it goes. Aha! They put splined in there. That's why. That's why it was so torqued in there. It's a spline nut, or splined bolt. I'll show you in a second. Interesting. So in that case, let's just give it a whack. See if we can poke these suckers out of there. Get that nut flush. Big hammer. There we go. That comes out that way. Spline deal. Who knew? I know now. Still stuck there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you got to suck it in anyways, right? Obviously, I did start from the wrong side. All right, so let's get another hook here. Yeah, they're both splined. Both spine. Live and learn. Let's see if we can just drape this down. Push this axle in. I don't think there's anything peed. Oh, speed sensor. Don't forget about your speed sensor. Get this little Christmas tree deal out of here. There she came out. Hopefully there's enough room there. I have to take it off this one too. We might have enough room. Yeah, it's got a lot of slack there. There we go. Now, let's hope there's no pin in there, or a cotter, or you know, like a retaining clip hanging on in there. Hopefully we could just pry it out of there. I gotta get something to hold this back up. In the meantime, well, as near as I could tell, there's no clip holding that on. It's not coming out. It's being ugly. So I think I got nothing to get in there with a pry bar, but I do have a going from the underneath. I'm going to try to use a, you know, an air hammer. And I do have a pick, but I decided to do this on the flat ground because I thought it was going to be easy. Otherwise, you'd have to get under there and get something on the back side of that, you know, on, like, let's say the other side of this, and try to whack that out of its grooves, because I don't know any other way to do it. And I can see there's no clips or retainers or anything else, so just assuming it needs a little help. That's that. Let's see here. All right, well, so this was in the where I used the air hammer on this side. So there is enough room between the frame and whatever to get, I don't know, some kind of tool if you don't have an air hammer. Get something, on here and just whack it. It did come right off, so, but pulling on it didn't come off, so I was a little concerned that maybe there was a hidden clip here, something retaining this thing, but there isn't. You just unplug it, and I guess if it's rusty or seized in there, you're going to have to hit it hard. I was going to save this axle because I don't know if it is the axle, and I'm not an axle expert by any stretch of the means, so I don't know if this is normal. It ain't making any noise. Seems a little bit flimsy, but it's tight. Not as tight as this side. I don't know if you can hear that. I'll try to be quiet. I'm just using an index finger. So I don't know if that's the noise or not. Goes both ways. Here, look at the camera over here. So just like I said, I'm not an expert, so I know these are supposed to move and they're supposed to do whatever, and when the car's making turns, go in and out, up and down. I'm fully aware of that. I just don't know about this. I can hear it clunking a little, but that might be normal. Might be totally normal. I don't know. It just seems a little sloppy to me because there's not much, I ain't got much on it, and it just seems a little wiggly. That's my opinion. I'm going to call Napa to see if they have this, and I am going to take this apart to see if we can see anything. Alright, so just got back from Napa. They actually had the axle, but there is two different axles. Not like good, better, and best, but there's, I guess, an old style and a new style, and the way you know that is you have to tell them your 11th number or digit of your VIN number, which mine was a Z, and this is, I guess, a newer style, and of course it's more expensive. But that being said, I was just comparing it to, as far as it looks like it is the axle. The only thing I see different is this blue washer here, which I'm going to transfer over to here. That looks like the only thing that's different. Everything else looks kind of exactly the same, right? So let's take this, let's get this thing out first. Looks like some kind of a retainer. I don't know what that is, like a washer or something. And it just looks like a shim. Some kind of spacer. We're going to put it on just because it's paper thin. If it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, it does. So, now that that's correct, I do want to open this. Let me put this in a vehicle first, I guess, and we'll open it in a second. I want to get this thing back together. Oh, and it did come with a nut, and of course, it is a different size. So I did end up tying this knuckle up with a string just to not flex the, or not as much the ball joint, but this should go fairly easy anyways. Any groove that it needs to line up with. No, it's all, they're all identical. There's no slot. Yep, there she goes. It's in the hole. Let's get this side out. I have to let that string go. She's in the hole. Where's my jack? There's my jack. Let's see if I can support this for a sec. Alright, get my thoughts with you here. Alright, so we're going to line this sucker up. And these are the splined bolts. We're going to have to start this side and I guess just tap them in rather than suck them in because the splines, they look okay. I don't know about the inside of this knuckle because it's aluminum. Probably twisted them up a little bit, but didn't know they were splined. So let's see if we can get this thing lined up and put back in without problems. Watch your sensor there. This thing seems to turn a little bit. It's close. I think it's so let's see if we can get these started. I'm running out of light here, my battery's dying. Alright, that ain't no problem. Yeah, no problem at all. Just got my knees under, and my thighs underneath the rotor, and had it on jacket first, just to flex it up, and then we just turn this back and forth, and she slipped right in. So that was pretty easy. So before I whack these bolts in, I'm going to give them a tap in. What do you think? Should we do the axle first? Probably do that first, huh? That way if it needs to turn or something, we ain't got it tight. So, everything else good? I guess while we're here, we could put this thing back on. Of course, I can't see how it goes. Oh, well, I gotta whack the bolts in, so before I put that sensor thing back on there, let me whack the bolts in first. Yep, they're not. Yeah, they're not really, well, they kind of are. Yeah, they went in a little bit, so we're going to suck them down the rest of the way. But it did, sucked it right in. I'll have to look up the specs on the torque value on them. They were pretty tight, as you remember. I had to use a breaker bar. Well, I did it backwards. It did come off kind of easy. But I will look up the specs on that. It's probably, I don't know, just guessing. I have no idea. 80. I know the axle nut. Oh shit, I was going to do the axle nut first. Right? Should we do that first? I guess it doesn't matter. The axle is independent anyways. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this up. I will have to look up a torque value. If it's like 200, and I'm just going to max this out with, the best I can. And those, I'll probably loosen those up if they're only like 80 pounds, because I just mashed them down pretty hard to suck them bolts in. But I'll let you know what I find as far as what the torque value is. Alright, so I found the torques. So it's 144 for these two bolts and 173 for the axle nut, right? So, that's pretty tight actually. Wow. Jesus. Kidding me. That's pretty friggin' tight for these little guys. They're not really little, but I understand the axle nut. So, my mistake earlier, first of all, you always try to take it off with the nut side, not the other side, if you're using an impact wrench. But I went to this side. I didn't know these were studded, but usually, or not studded, splined on these bolts here. But usually, in order to tell if something's splined, the end of the bolt will have like a round dome on it, for giving it a whack. Bing! And it'll knock it out, right? These are just threaded all the way to the end, so I just assumed it was a threaded bolt to the end. That's my excuse. Like here, see these, you can knock these studs out, and you won't mess up the, the threads, because they're, you can whack it with a hammer. It doesn't affect the threads. Anyways, that was my mistake. 144, we're done here. The axle nut is 173. Let's see what we got here. This thing makes noise, I'm going to be angry. Let's start her up. Oops. So, sorry about that. That is literally the world's loudest dinger. Alright, so what we got here? Let's start this puppy up. Where is it? I guess I gotta wait for that thing to stop. Service engine oil. Yeah, we already know that. That's next. Alright, let's be quiet. This is inside. I'll put the camera outside too, but... Sweetness. Alright, so I think we got it licked. The other thing that it could have been really is like a motor mount that's starting to fail. Like maybe a broken bolt or maybe half broke mount or something like that. But honestly, going down the road, just letting your foot off the gas, this made that noise, that clunking noise. And a motor mount, I'm not sure that would do that. So it's kind of the only thing it could have been, but I was a little nervous because this is not typical of you know, when a CV joint goes, there's a lot of click and there's a lot more noise. But this is subtle noise, but it definitely wasn't there, and now it's not there now. But anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. I'm going to take this axle apart if you want to stick around, but you know, just to see if there any wear I can see, just to 100%, you know, find out what the problem was. But anyways, if not, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Yeah? I just need to know, is this what the noise is? It seems to me like it is. Again, I'm not an axle person. We're going to take this apart, and we just put a brand new axle in. It's not like I'm going to put this old one in, even if it, you know, it still has the same symptoms with a new axle. It's not like I'm going to put this in, so we're going to destroy this and see if, I'm just going to cut it, see if we can see anything, right? I'm just going to cut these bands off. This right here is pretty, you know, in my opinion, this was what the problem is. That just seems too loosey-goosey.